Hey, it's three after. It's the magic moment. Carrie, thank you for being here. Mike Clear, thank you for joining us and everyone on today. We've got a good number on and we are super excited. So thank you for sharing your view with us today. Guys, look at all these temperatures, lots of snow. So hopefully we've got some watch parties. If you're having a watch party in your office, let us know how many are joining you. I have to tell you guys real quickly, my daughter, my oldest daughter and her husband just moved to Manteo, North Carolina from West Virginia to escape the snow and the cold weather. And they have 9 inches of snow on the beach in North Carolina Outer Banks. So
Wow.
I don't know. I don't even know what to say about that. So welcome today. Welcome to One Prime Time, our second edition. We are super excited for those of you that are joining us for the first time, and also to those who are joining us for the second time. Mike, I don't know if you know or not, but what we're encouraging is a watch party.
Yep.
We've sent a lot of instructions. We have a lot of assets for people to get out and get everybody in the room and join us. So Carrie, how are you today? And what do you think we need to talk about?
Oh my gosh, I think Mike has a lot of good stuff up his sleeve, and I'm sure we're all going to be really excited, and it's going to fill our buckets by the end of this call.
For those of you that haven't met Mike Clear yet, I'll let him tell you a little bit about himself and maybe what his preferences are on this Super Bowl. We had a little bit of a discussion before everybody joined us. And Brian, if you're on, I know that you're pulling for those Chiefs, so we're not even gonna let you talk about that. Tracy Coughlin, you are too. So Mike, tell us a little bit about you for those that may not have met you, a little bit about your background and the expertise you bring to our ROG family.
Sure. Well, I'm a Michigander, so my Lions let me down this year with 5 turnovers this last weekend, so that was a sad day. But we're used to Lions losing, so it's no big deal. Chiefs, I'm kind of tired of the Chiefs. They've had their day in the sun, but I'm a Michigander. I live now here in the desert of Arizona, and I've been at Realty One since January 1st of 2017, so as COO and CFO. So I don't do what you guys do every day. I do different things. I've been around leadership and operations and sales and marketing and tech my entire career leading different teams, but I've never walked in the shoes of a real estate professional. But I have insights that I think I can give to, it applies to any business because our customers every day are real estate professionals. So I talk to you guys. I've bought and sold a bunch of real estate. I'm a passionate person about real estate. I just don't hang the agent license because I'd rather use one of you guys who are truly experts at this than do it myself. So I'm here to help give some insights on whatever Kathy and Carrie you guys see fit. I'm a huge football fan. I love that I'm not in Michigan right now where it's -10 and lots of snow. I like to visit there in the summertime when it's green and lakes are a little warm and it's good times then. But happy to be here and I'm just happy to be in 2025. The last 2 years have been brutal. So Kathy and Carrie, I'm just happy that we're in a new year. Hasn't necessarily turned around yet. Rates are still high, but I'm just glad there's a new year because we look forward, we don't look back.
Mike, we're so glad you're on today. I've got lots of questions, and you know I'm not the mathematician, I'm the realtor, so be patient with me and be easy with me today. But I have to tell you, when I got up this morning in North Carolina, because we do not have that much snow, and I had this beautiful fresh coat of snow, I thought, man, what a great time for this call, because I think what we're all hoping with the new year and what we're all trusting, and those of us that have been in real estate a long time, have seen the many cycles of real estate. The fresh snow reminds me of new beginnings, and that as soon as this is gone, we're going to have a fresh start. So Mike, first of all, what Carrie and I would like to hear is, as the Realty One Group family and as an industry, what are a couple of things you think we could celebrate for 2020 from 2024? Because I think
Yeah,
we've
well, I
heard
think
the
there's
negative all we want to.
right. Well, first of all, as we know, we don't celebrate where the market was. It was the second year in a row that was the worst market since 1995, and you figure how much more the population has grown. That's really saying something that, boy, we had a pretty, stiff headwind that we had to go into this year with, the transactions. But the fact that we grew transactions and we grew agent count and we grew office count, or all should be celebrated. Our agents did more business. Our professionals did more than our competition did because we got a little more share of that. So I think it's great that our brand continues to grow. Our real estate professionals continue to do more transactions, and we're getting, that up and up every time. So other successes, we opened 72 new offices in 2024. So that's a big accomplishment. I think we hired 7,000 new agents. Yes, there was some attrition, so we lost agents, but that was with the settlement and everything else going on in the industry with NAR and the lawsuits. There's attrition in the industry in general right now. So, but we attracted 7,000 plus new professionals to the brand, opened 72 offices. And our pendings are up over prior years. So even though the market is not turned, our pendings at the lowest point of the year is always pendings are right around January 1st to January 4th, depending on when it falls, but it's always the same consistent. And we're 17.8% higher in pendings at the lowest point of the year. So there's always a low point due to seasonality, and the fact that we're going into the year almost 18% higher than a year ago with pendings shows that there's strength happening in the market, especially strength with our professionals, with our agents, so and franchisees. So I see there's always positive in any given year. Cuba has, built a company that we focus on what's good, what's positive. Doesn't mean we ignore the negative. We always acknowledge the negative and we try to look for the solution, but we don't cry in our spilled milk. Let's put it that way. We try to look forward. How do we win? And our brand is solid, and we just need to keep moving forward. Because I think 25, the inauguration happened this week. We're not going to talk politics, but now there's less speculation. We'll start to see what happens. And whenever we have speculation, the markets act crazy. So you had a favorable 10-year rate somewhat in September. Okay. And then the Fed started dropping 100 basis points. And what did the 10-year do? It went up over 100 basis points and went the opposite direction because there's speculation in the market around that 10-year yield, which mortgage rates are basically set off of. So we have this now added headwind with the 10-year, but now that we have this new administration in, whether it's good or bad in your opinion, it's now going to be a known fact, and markets will stop speculating. We'll know what we're dealing with, and we can move forward.
How much time do you expect, Mike, before we start to see something change there?
It's that if I had that crystal ball, I'd probably make more money than I should, but because you'd be able to time the markets, and it's impossible to time the market. So I don't know. I'm just glad that we're moving somewhere. So I think all the predictions are out there that we won't get immediate, relief right away, but you're seeing it came down some, then today it's back up. So right now there's still speculation there. It's too early to know, but we'll know soon enough. I think people are absorbing the rates a little better, and it depends on the market. Here in the desert states where we still have a brokerage in Las Vegas and Phoenix, we're seeing that the market is still not rebounding as quickly because they had really high price appreciation. So affordability is probably the biggest issue. My daughter works for the university, Arizona State University, in the athletic department, and she's like, how come her older brother Nick bought his first house in 2021? How could he afford it? Because she knew what he was making. And I'm like, well, he moved from a 1-bedroom in Tempe to a house for about what he was paying in rent because the rate was 2.75%. I said, now for you to buy that same house, instead of paying $1,500 a month, it would cost her about $3,500 a month. Well, that's hard to absorb for people. So until we have kind of that price equal the rates where in each market where there's affordability, there's going to be a continued headwind. So what we're starting to see some prices come down here. Now there's so much of price appreciation since the pandemic, it's not really a worry. If it comes down a little bit, that'll help move markets, but it's hard to time when this will happen. The good news is, even in the worst year, there's 4 million transactions nationally. In a normal year, there's 5.3-ish, 5.2 to 5.4. In a great year, that's over 6 million. But at 4 million, you can still get your market share. You can still go get help buyers and sellers. It's not like the sales go to zero. So there's still a market there. And what our job is to try to attract buyers and sellers to our brand, to attract more agents to our brand, to make our brand stronger so we can continue to grow. So there's still business to be had, and our people win every day.
Mike, I'm just thinking I'm sitting here thinking, you're from a coaching background. Your dad was a coach. You're from a very athletic family. Carrie, to, college athlete. And I think how many times it's about preparedness. And you look at the games over the past weekend, and, whether it's snowing or sleeting, those guys put their heads down and they knew where the marks were without seeing the marks,
Yeah.
right? It's about preparedness. It's about, you run suicides, you run sprints for a reason, to prepare you for what's coming next. I mean, the professionalism of Carrie Underwood, if you haven't seen that clip, Carrie and I talked about it last night, that she is standing there in front of America to perform, and the stinking music won't play. And she says, well, let's just do it.
Yeah.
And that's what we encourage everybody on this call to do. Let's roll back on fundamentals. Let's put our heads down and say, man, we're up 18%. Because when you say 17.8, I hear 18%. I think that's excellent. What are your observations? And as a business leader, what are your basic business practices that professionals need to be doing to be prepared for what's coming?
Yeah, so I'll use a sports analogy for a second, because since you said coaching and all that, I have a friend whose son is a coach at Notre Dame, and they just lost in the national championship. And it wasn't because they weren't prepared, because those guys work 20 hours a day preparing for every kind of scenario, and they look and study the data to know what are the tendencies every which way. Now, one team can go out and kick the butt of the other team because they just were better that day, and people still make mistakes and people miss assignments and stuff, but it's not for lack of preparation. So preparation is everything, whether it's in sports, in business, in parenting, in your marriage, whatever it is, you have to put some thought down to what you're going to do. And since I'm sometimes accused of being number oriented, or people call me the numbers guy or anything like that. It's the only reason I became that was out of necessity of business. It wasn't because that's what I've always been good at math and I like math, but I like lots of other things too. But the reason it became crystal clear in my 20s, I had the opportunity at a large company to be exposed to executives to where I could see how they studied the numbers. And if you don't know what the score is, how do you know if you're winning or losing? If I don't care if it's little kids on the soccer field or the baseball field. Well, there's at this age we don't keep score. Every kid knows exactly what the score is. The parents can convince themselves that they're not playing a competition, but the kids know what the score is. So how do you know if you're winning if you don't know what the score is? And the biggest mistake I see people have or make is when I ask a question of any business leader that reports up to me, and they're not prepared with some set of data or numbers or something to know if they're winning or losing, or even a narrative around it. How do you know? So you have to keep score. And it's in keeping score means know your numbers. When I say know your numbers, know if you're making money or not. Whether you're a franchise owner, a real estate agent, a team leader, whatever, you're the CEO of your own business. You are an independent contractor, you're the CEO of your own business. Every CEO needs to know what the score is and what your financials look like. So if you're not doing some basic prep work and take some time out of your week to know what your numbers are and to know if you're winning or losing, all of a sudden 6 months from now, you're going to maybe lose the game and you didn't even see it coming. You weren't able to pivot or prepare differently. So that's the biggest mistake I made. And people go, well, that's easy for you because you think that way. Well, my oldest daughter is an entrepreneur who runs her business. She's very creative, the opposite of me. I'm not very creative. She's the creative marketing type, and Corey would love her because she's that type of creative mind. And I conditioned in her with her business. She knows exactly how many people come in her store every day. She has every employee count. She knows the data around people come in her store, how many people bought that came in her store, what her daily sales are, what her P&L is. And she knows that because I made her, if you don't know your numbers, you don't know if you're winning or losing, you can't pivot, you can't change price, you can't do this, you can't do that. So I took somebody that was, and just advised her a lot. I don't spend a lot of time advising her because that's the last thing your kids want to hear from is their parents advising them when they're adults. But she listened and now tracks the data. So I can ask her, hey, there was a snowstorm there today. How many customers do you have compared to your last snowstorm day? She knows exactly what it is because she keeps a spreadsheet of how many people came in, what the weather was like. Is she busier on rainy days or is she busier on sunny days? All that stuff matters. And without keeping score, you can't pivot and make adjustments to the game plan. So that's where I see in business. I don't care what business you're in, you need to have some basic knowledge of what's happening in your business around numbers. Otherwise, it's a wild ass guess.
You know, Mike, we talk a lot about that in the programs that we're coaching and teaching, Rev Up Rapid Launch, as well as Level Up, the mentor certification. And you said the word a couple of times, and it's one of Kathy and my favorite words is pivot. And that tracking and keeping track and knowing where you're headed, where you're going, what happened in the past is so crucial to your business. We have a ton of worksheets that we can provide to you guys so you don't have to recreate the wheel. So just shoot us an email at coaching@realtyonegroup.com and we can get those to you. But also, in addition to giving you the ability to pivot when something goes sideways, it also gives you the ability to celebrate, which I think is so important when you achieve a milestone that you've been waiting for, where something transpires that is like incredible and amazing that maybe you didn't see coming or that you were hoping that you were going to see coming that actually happened. It provides that celebration, which keeps your mindset and your motivation going, which is crucial in this business because the roller coaster of negativity can take over sometimes. And that ability to be able to celebrate some of these things with your tracking is huge.
Yeah, we keep score so we know who won. And the same thing happens in your business. I want to celebrate every day. And by celebrating every day, you need to know what the game plan was. It's not just, oh, I got up and I'm alive. Well, that's good to celebrate too, because I woke up. So you celebrate the day. There's snow. That's beautiful. Let's go have fun in the snow today. Let's celebrate that. But in your business, you gotta pivot to celebrate and celebrate the wins. And that's why you're playing a game. Every business is a game. It's just a different type of game. Whether it's just like Monopoly or not, you're playing a game. It's the game of life. And some people win and some people lose. I want all of us to win. We all win
again,
together.
right. And again, I go back to that state of preparedness. This year is going to be interesting. We can talk a little bit about the predictions. It's feast or famine. I mean, you said it earlier, Mike. Matter of fact, I talked to Melissa this morning in Tennessee, and she was talking about some of her agents have had the best year in their career. And that's because Melissa and Dustin do an incredible job of making sure they're prepared. Everyone on the call, and when you talk about your daughter in the retail space, I had a retail store for a while, and what that data is, it's going to give you the preparedness to know, oh, it's going to be a sunny day or a rainy day. I'm going to have this much more traffic so that you're staffed.
Yep.
Same way with realtors. If we know that the market is yielding a little bit better interest rate, Mike, I want to come back and talk to you about some questions I've got about interest rates. But it's about, guys, this year we need the data. You need to be prepared so that when we do get that bump down, you're ready to roll. This is not going to be a, oh crap, what do I do now? This is going to be a, oh yeah, I'm ready. And that's what that data, and the market's not predictable, but your performance should be. One challenge I want to give to everybody right now, and I do this with realtors always in January, pull up your credit card statement. Many of you probably just got your credit card statement within this week, and go through it. And just January, how many times did you go, oh, what is that? And it's probably something, these are just simple little actionable items. It's probably something you subscribed to, and maybe I'm the only one that does this, but you subscribe to a 30-day free thing and all of a sudden they're charging you monthly and you go, I don't even know what that is. Guess what? The next application to that is to look at it and go, I don't need to pay for this. What in my tool chest do I have from my brand that I don't have to pay for this? Is it One Creative Studio? Is it one of the other many tools that we have that you're duplicating what you're paying? And a lot of making more money is keeping more of what you have. My goal is always at the end of the year, how do I end up with more than what I started out with? And at my age, that's important. Just so you know, it's coming, folks. If you're not there, it's coming. Get ready. So, Mike, let's talk about that a little bit. What are those other business practices that people can do? Yes, you have to have the data. If guys, I don't give a I don't care if it is a composition, a ring binder composition that you're writing something on. It doesn't have to be high level. A lot of our spreadsheets, Carrie, thank you for bringing that up, are so doable, right? And so easy for us to integrate. James Clear says you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Folks, we don't have systems in place. You have a lot of old crap moments. So Mike, what would be a couple of maybe
Well,
fundamental things?
let's stay on systems there for a second, because invariably we'll have a franchise owner reach out and say, hey, will you look at my financials? Will you look at this and give me some advice? And every time there's a bunch of software on there that I'm like, why do you have this? Like, and I'll go over to our brokerage, Pat Kelly, who's president of our brokerage division, and say, okay, you have 4,700 agents. We do 20 some thousand transactions a year. You don't have any of these tools. Why are other people needing this? And it's, I think people sign up for a quick fix thinking this is going to change their organized way. And it's like, our system provides the tools you need. And people just have a different style. So I'm not saying don't buy the tools, but be careful what you do. Keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate the business with buying too many systems to add on, saying, well, I have to have this. I would argue, no, you don't. So, and that's what happens. Your credit card bill gets cluttered with it. And we do it internally. We cleanse all of our corporate credit cards. I'm like, we cleanse it for subscriptions every year, going, okay, what's this subscription? Why do you have this on your bill? What did you, oh, I forgot that I bought that. Okay, well then you've been doing your expense reports every month. Stay on top of that stuff. So the devil's in the details all the time in business. Like, if you're not looking, stuff can just bloat. And I see the bloat happens as soon as you take your eye off the ball. We'll see our OpEx creep up, and then I have to like hammer on folks. Then all of a sudden it goes back down. And you have to just make sure you have the most efficient use of everything. And I can tell you the most expensive thing is people. People are the most expensive thing. So be careful how many people you hire. Make sure the people you do hire on your teams or as an assistant or anything else are the most efficient use of your resources. Is there a better way? How can you go paperless? How can you use everything in our tool chest that we're already providing for you? Because that's already paid for. That's already free for you. So I see people get clouded with best intentions. They overload on systems and quick fixes. And I always like to say, outlaw the quick fix. If you're going to have a good system, it can't be a quick fix. It has to be well thought out and systematic, and then it will work. If you just go and grab a tool or grab a widget, it never works. It never sticks.
Well, I think too,
Go ahead, Carrie.
I was just gonna say, I think too, sometimes experienced agents have done the same thing over and over and over again. They've adopted a tool or a technology piece that they've had for years and years and years, and it works for them. And instead of potentially looking outside of that, because we offer a ridiculous amount of things here at Realty One Group that can help your business for free, really. And then we also have others will give you a massive discount. But instead of looking outside of that to go, is there something else maybe that I can use that I don't have to pay this exorbitant amount? The CRM is one of them, right? Like, OneSuite is free to you guys. And yeah, I mean, there's other systems out there that do other things, but what is it that you really use? And instead of paying $300 and $400 a month, because that's just what you've done forever, maybe now decide to make a change. And change is hard. What you're not changing, you're choosing. I love that quote. But sometimes you just have to look outside of it and really dive into what you need and what's necessary to be able to help you succeed.
I was just going to say, and I might be making this up, Michael, call me out if I am, but I think if you were to go as an individual on the call and subscribe to what's in the tool chest, it would be around $1,300 a month. And that's vague because a lot of what we provide is enterprise level and it's not even available to you. So please take a few minutes, sit down with your broker, let that be the discussion after this call of what do we have that I'm not utilizing, and don't eat the whole elephant. Let's break it apart, look at each other in the face and say, what can I do today? What can I do next week to implement? I will tell you, true story. I've been in real estate for over 35 years. I've got shit in my basement right now that is still in the shrink wrap that I bought because it was going to change my career. Now they are on floppy drives. A lot of you don't even know what a
Floppy
floppy,
drives.
you know what I'm talking about. A lot of you don't
Oh,
even
yeah.
know what that is. And you know what? It didn't work because I didn't use it. So I think the biggest lesson for most people who think like I do is let's make it, put the systems in place. It needs to be the old Ron Papel. I'm getting old now. Hang on, Mike. The old Ron Papel chicken in the oven, set it and forget it,
Yeah.
right? And you go do things and let that CRM work for you. I'm going to say again, and I'm going to say every call, 86% of consumers would use their realtor again. They would tell friends, family, coworkers about you, what an exceptional experience their transaction was. Yet less than 13% of professional realtors are basing their business on repeat and referral business. We need to do a better job of implementing what's provided for us. I want you to think about it. If you close, most of the market's represented. If you close 2 additional transactions because of what your office is providing, that could be $20,000.
Yeah.
It's a big number.
Monetize it and say, what kind of financial difference is it going to make for tuition, for braces, for that car insurance, whatever that might be for you.
A vacation.
Well, exactly. And I would tell you that the one thing, the advantage of using our tool set, are our tools perfect? No. But here's the thing that I will tell you about our tools. They're evolving all the time. So because they're enterprise level tools, we have people on staff that listen to all of the complaints that people are frustrated about the tools. And then we're going to the people that design one suite, and we have a list of projects of improvements that we want done. Now, if you just buy something off the shelf, can you change how that software works to better you? No, you don't have a voice with that vendor. We have a voice with our vendors. So when we see things, they're ever evolving. So the reason sometimes we get rid of tools is because we want to invest that in making the tool that we have that much better and more meaningful for you than piecing together a bunch of tools that aren't connected. The idea is to evolve Zone and all of the other tools so they're very much intuitive and connected and always improving. Where if you just buy off the shelf, you can't go improve that product. That you're going to be stuck with that product. We've got a voice of our realtors and our franchisees. There's a whole list of projects that go to these vendors on how to do it. And between Taylor's team and Arcadius's team, they're constantly pushing our vendors to make those improvements and make our tools better because we buy at the enterprise level. So that's why I would give our tools a chance and make sure, why double pay for something?
Well, and that also goes to show, don't suffer in silence. You
Right.
know, all of you out there that are frustrated with something, tell us. Helpdesk@realtyoneGroup.com is a great place to say, hey, I wish this had this, or I wish this was a different whatever. We don't know if we don't hear from you, and everyone has a voice, and that's what we encourage. So let us know.
Well, and you look at huge enterprises like Microsoft, and a big part of the evolution of that was hearing the voice of the users. And that's what we need. We need you. It may not be pretty, but you know what? We need to hear that too. Now we want to hear compliments. And one thing, Mike, I want to touch on that you mentioned to make sure that everyone knows, the reason that works is because I think everyone knows how incredibly awesome the branding is and the marketing is. We have in-house marketing. We also have in-house research and development, and that's what Arcadius's team is. We have a person, extremely bright person, dedicated to partnerships. And be prepared of the evolution. We're not stagnant. We're not complacent. We don't get a product and go, hey, this works, we're going to keep it forever. So that's a little bit of a double-edged sword. And that's where you have to be progressive and you have to stay engaged and you have to say, oh, I didn't know it would do this. Again, it's all about the systems. It's all about that tracking. I think, Mike, that weaves very tightly back into the data of what's working and what's not working as far as building your business.
Well, we're lucky we have a very forward-thinking founder and CEO in Cuba. He does not let the team rest. I mean, it's what's new, what's next. Like, where are we going? How are we improving this product? How are we making the experience better? So he pushes every day on this team to make sure that we get better and that we produce better results. boy, do we wish we could push our partners faster? Yeah, we like to produce things much faster, but there is a process to that. You can't change software overnight. So, but we're always looking forward. We're looking to where do we think the ball is going to be, or where the puck is going to be as you skate towards something, not looking back, because we're trying to predict where the next change is so we can have a system that helps with that. So I would just say we've got the right people in the leading those. With two of our young leaders in Arcadius and Taylor are two of the best, and we've got the right brains on it, and we push hard to make sure we're providing new things. We want some recovery in this market, because as the market recovers, that allows us to even move faster. We can invest more into that, because we tend to invest back into the business more than anything. So it's just, don't overcomplicate it. So we think we've got a basic set of tools that can run a real estate practice and run a real estate office. Sure, there could be 20 other ones that you could tell me about. I get it, but keep it simple. Keep it simple, keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate the business, because then you're just mired in the systems that are kind of over managing it, and you're not, worried about your customers. So we want you worried about your customers. Use the systems you have, track your numbers, make this easier than it needs to be.
Shout out to Kelly Walker. She just threw out her floppies from Sweat Hogs, and it's
There you
so
go.
funny. I had a Sweat Hog conversation last week. And if you don't have floppies, and Carrie, you may not remember this, but how many of you remember the little cartridges, and when they broke, you had to put a pin in them to get them going again? Yeah, I had those too. They were Mike Ferry, by the way. So learn from this. Mike, can we talk cassettes? Thank you, Kimberly. It takes a village. So Mike, can we talk about rates a little bit?
Sure.
And I'm not asking you to predict or even forecast, but the feds have reduced the rate, yet the rates didn't come down. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, well, there's the Fed controls one set of rates, or it controls what they're lending to, at the window there. So of the Federal Open Market Committee. So the 10-year is an open market. So people are buying the rates up and down on basic 10-year bond prices. So that pretty much sets more of the mortgage rates, or the mortgage rates align with the 10-year. And that's an open market. Nobody sets that rate. Nobody can come in and say, oh, I'm going to make interest rates here. Because if the market chooses to buy it up a different way, because that's where they want to invest their money. So right now, I don't know, the debate is that there's still inflationary concerns. Therefore, people are still putting their money into some of these 10-year yields that are pretty attractive from a yield standpoint, historically attractive compared to the last 10 years. So I think people are buying into that, which drives that market up. So even though the Fed has reduced rate, the market is telling us, hey, we don't necessarily believe inflation is cured yet. We don't know what tariffs are going to do, or this or that's going to do. So we're going to keep buying this up, because that's what we're attracted in. And that sets it. There's no one being that sets the rates that impact mortgage. There's no one body in the government that does that. Eventually, if the Fed brings rates down, they will follow. Right now, you just have a divergence on the curve, where as the Fed reduced it, the 10-year yield went up almost the opposite effect. That's because of the fear inflation. So
Do you think part of that has been the fear of future, and now that it's not a political statement, but that now that there's a settling, whether you feel good or bad about it, but it's just for 3.5 years, 4 years, it is, we're going to have predictability. Do you think that's going to help with that?
Yeah. Well, that's why I said from September till now, it's been pure speculation. Now, when you have a new administration, and we'll start to see what moves they make, and then the markets will react accordingly. Where up to this point, it was speculative about inflation, which it was driving that, because mostly driven by fear of tariffs. Because you have economists that will say tariffs are going to increase prices because they'll pass them on to the consumers. So it depends on how they're implemented. It depends on how they're governed. It depends on a bunch of different things on how they do this. So as we start to see what comes out, then we'll know how to deal with it, or how to predict it better. right now, that's why the 10-year has been high. There's people wanting to buy that versus the stock market. So if people invest their money there, there's going to be a part that it's somewhat a flight to safety with just the unknown right now. And then we'll see kind of what happens over the next month. But it's going to take a couple months to see where that goes. I believe it will start to come down at some point in 2025. But everybody was wrong the last 3 years on the timing of when those are going to come down. So our economists around housing have been wrong for 3 straight years. So it's hard to have a lot of faith in even who's predicting what these days, because it is a free market and the market can react how the market reacts. And that's what's great about our country. So what I know is we don't set the rates. We can just have to react to the rates. And there's still, even in the worst year, it was only 4 million homes sold. That's still 4 million homes. There's still people that have to buy or sell a home regardless of what rates are, whether it's, whether you're going through a death in the family, a divorce, a new child, a job change. There's still things that happen that make people move. Now, would I like it to be a normal market, like 5 to 5.5 million sales? Absolutely. I would just take normal at this point. I don't need a booming market. Normal would be great. Just an average run-of-the-mill market would be great. And I think we'll get back to that closer in 26 and 27. I can think you could start to see a boom in 27. There's a ton of pent-up demand, a ton of millennial demand in certain age groups that you see on the graphs that have not yet bought their house, so they need to. And then you have a bunch of people just stuck in a mortgage that they love. They just don't want to give up on their mortgage rate more than the house, but that will wear off at some point.
Well,
Mike, do
Carrie,
you feel like, I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
I was just going to say, I know you said you don't have a crystal ball, but I mean, are these changes and these drops in interest rates and potentially a drop in the prices of homes kind of around the nation? I mean, they're going to be kind of little drops, right? I mean, we're not going to see anything drastic go back to the way it was or whatever that people are
Yeah,
searching.
you hope not. You don't want a drastic move like
Right.
what happened when there was the mortgage meltdown. That would not be good for our industry. So right now, at least, you have pretty solid mortgages that have been underwritten. So you don't have this. What you're seeing is just some markets got really overbought up, whether it was the Floridas, Texas, Arizonas, Nevadas. You saw a lot of price increase. That's where the affordability is that much higher. When I look at where pendings are up, when I gave you that 18% number, we have some areas where pendings are down, but we have other areas where pendings are booming because they didn't have as much price appreciation, so there's not the shock. When I tell you that story of the same house from 2021 of $1,500 and change payment would be $3,500 because of price appreciation and interest rate, that's dramatic. That's over a 4-year period. That's 3.5 to 4-year period. That's unheard of. So that makes affordability, because wages in that market didn't go up like that. So that was just, the market influx that came in from other parts of the country, people buying second homes, so on and so forth. So that's an isolated local event. Other markets right now that didn't have 50% price appreciation, maybe had 15%, the affordability it's just on rates. So I think we will see the market will be better in 2025, knock on wood. I don't see it going back unless something else happens. But inflation can be, anytime you add stuff to the supply and demand curve, money, that can raise price. So it doesn't matter where it comes from. We've had horrible natural disasters in this country that all of a sudden puts a bunch of money into play that wasn't going to be there if there wasn't a natural disaster. So that influences the inflation number. Wars influence the inflation number. Defense spending influence, like all of that spending that happens moves that supply and demand curve a certain way that brings prices up. So we've just had a somewhat of a perfect storm coming out of the pandemic. Then you put in some wars, you put in a ton of defense spending. So even though there's lots of segments of business where I feel those segments aren't doing good and jobs are being lost, the jobs reports keep coming out very strong because you have these other things happening that are adding jobs. So that's kind of my view on it. I'm not an economist. I studied economics, but I'm not an economist, but I like it. So that's my view. You talk to 10 economists, you'll get 10 different opinions though. So, but that's what I'm hearing from people. And I think but guess what? We can't control that. So I don't even like overthinking that. I just like thinking the market, we've survived the last 3 years with 3 really rough markets. Everybody on this call survived, and many of you thrived. Keep thriving. Just keep going. Keep getting more. Everybody who's going to be a Debbie Downer or a Doug the Whiner or whoever else, stick there. People are just, there's always positive and negative people in the world. Be one of the positive ones that say, I can go win every day, and you will win. I'm convinced of that, because there's a lot of negative people out there who are whining about things versus crushing it. And I believe in crushing it. That's our company. Behind me, I have 3 signs. One is think big, one is be gold and be you, and one is culture. I try to remind myself of those things every day, because I can get mired in the numbers. So I have those signs by design to tell me every time I'm on a call, don't forget these wonderful things, that we are all about at Realty One. Be gold and be you. Bring your best behavior forward every single day. Practice culture. For me, culture means have a little fun. If we're going to be working hard, let's have a little fun throughout the day. And behind my big, thick head is think big, which means don't forget to look out in the future and think, how can we do something different? I had a good conversation with Pat Kelly this morning, who office is next to mine, about an idea that I had. And it was just fun to talk with other smart people about thinking big about something that might be 3 to 5 years down the road, not tomorrow. So you have to think big and look forward and move in the right direction, always moving forward.
And Mike, we absolutely adore your leadership. And I remember during the pandemic, I'll never forget, one of the first things you said in a meeting was, let's lead with calm. And you've done that every day. And I love that you're bringing that forward in the call today. I could not agree more. Carrie and I have very intentionally, with the help of others, designed our programs around that. Each of our programs has a daily declaration. And I'm gonna say that rather than affirmation, because I love declaring it versus affirming it, because affirming, you may or may not question it, but we declare it. And that's one thing that this company does so well. And that thread is woven through every single thing that we do, from top down and through all of our programs. We start each of our sessions, Carrie, both in rapid launch, which is coming up soon. If you want to register for that, we've got a deadline coming. Please email coaching@realtyonegroup.com to make sure that you get in that. Our newest program, Level Up, same way. We declare it. We're going to hold you accountable. And Mike, something you said that our programs offer is that opportunity to have a conversation. I think so many times we get siloed, and if we're in a market that's challenged, that's all we hear. And we do need to hear other voices. We need to hear voices that are having more positive experiences. So our programs are already going to give you that opportunity. As we get ready to close, let's talk about that. Let's talk about, because you've shared with me several podcasts that I now subscribe to. Who should our participants today be listening to? What should they be listening to, and not getting caught up in that? I mean, we grind every day, but we don't need to hear crap every day. So who should the ones you can share?
Yeah, no, that's because I don't need to be motivated. Because so I don't listen to things that
See, I do. I need to be motivated.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like certain folks need the motive. I listen to podcasts to educate me in areas I'm interested in. So I'll listen to Freakonomics, or I'll listen to No Stupid Questions is good. I don't listen to that as much anymore. The Journal Report pretty much every day, because it's just the Wall Street Journal's version of a hot topic that day. So it's 15 to 20 minutes. So you can do that on a commute, and it's just one topic, but it's kind of a deep dive on one topic that is interesting. So I listen to things that are interesting to me, to maybe educate me in something different than what I do every day. So I can motivate myself to do things. I don't always motivate myself to diet and exercise, but I can motivate myself to get up and work hard. Work hard was instilled in me at a very young age by my mom and dad, intentionally, I'm convinced. So work ethic is never that problem. So I do things that stimulate the mind, because then I feel that gives me some endorphin rush when I feel like I'm learning something. So I've always said, like, no matter how old you are, you never stop learning. Because that's what gives you life, is never stop learning. And we can, no matter how smart you are, you can always get smarter. You know, it's just invigorating to learn. So I'm challenging myself to read more books this year. So, you know, maybe I'll start sharing the books and stuff that I read, as things go on, because I come across some right now. So I'm reading one on Russia right now that I've just opened up. Yes, my son sent it to me. So that's a lot of times my son and I send books back and forth, and he keeps me young by sending me books that the 30 somethings are thinking about. So,
Well, Mike, Jackie Liberto is asking, down in Destin, Florida, what's the best way to start to learn the numbers for your business? What book, website, what's the best thing to
okay,
use?
so before you even go to a book or a website, make sure you have a bookkeeper or accountant that is inputting the numbers into an accounting system. Okay, that's the first thing that you can do before you read a book or anything else. Just make sure, and you can get bookkeeping services. That's the advice I gave my daughter. It's like, okay, she's starting out a business. You have to have somebody that does your taxes, because Abby, I'm not doing them for you, and I'm not doing your books for you. I'm not, you run your business, you have to hire this stuff done because you have to run a grown-up business. And so, you know, and I would say she's barely scraping by as an entrepreneur, but she's at least doing some of those right things. So you can get a bookkeeping service or an accounting service very, very inexpensively, and use QuickBooks because we're paying for most of that anyhow as part of your franchise fee, and it links directly and brings your closing over. So start to do that, number one, because then as you get from there, you can go other places. So then you can use systems like Scaling Up is very good. That's a good basic business book that a lot of entrepreneurs should read, because once you have your set of numbers, Scaling Up will help you identify where are there opportunities, where am I missing something. But if you don't have that, you're going to miss it. You know, I just lost his name in my head there, Kathy. The guy that you like, what's
Business Made Simple.
yeah, Business
Business
Made
Made
Simple is a great one because it's very simple. It's very simplistic. But every single book is going to start with do you have a basic, can you spit out financials? And the only way you can spit out financials is somebody's doing that entry for you to make sure that you're doing your entry and accounting correctly. I'm not an accountant, but I know how to read financials inside and out, and I've trained myself over the years to do that. I'm not good at debits and credits, but we have accountants that are really good at debits and credits. I just know how to interpret a balance sheet and a financial statement and tell you the health of that business and where it needs to go through years of experience. But if we didn't have somebody doing the debits and credits and doing it the right way, then you don't know. So start there, and then I can get you a list of other books. There's not short of information out there, but it's pretty. Go ahead.
Well, I love that. And I want everybody to hear this. On hiring that professional, the juice is worth the squeeze. Okay. And what I mean by that is, regardless of if you're an entrepreneur, solopreneur, business owner, you're all business owners. And one thing I want to double back to what you said at the beginning, Mike, you've personally, you and Kimmy have done a lot of personal real estate transactions, yet you said, I go hire a professional. And you're going to get in trouble. I mean, I could pull my own teeth, but it would be bloody and painful. And
Right.
it's just not the thing to do. If I have a tooth go bad, I need to go hire a professional. So I love that advice from the business perspective, because you can't save enough money. If you look at what I'm saving versus not hiring a professional versus what I'm investing, there's just no comparison to
Well,
get that.
I've never balked at what a real estate professional made on commission, because I've had the pleasure of working with really good ones, because I've kind of known who's who to get for those, because you guys earn every single penny of that. And now, are there some bad ones out there? We all know bad ones out there that didn't earn their commission. But you know, commission has never been something that I question there, because it's like you guys are bringing an expertise that, yes, I know real estate. I've read the books. I can take the test, but I haven't practiced it. That's you guys do that every day. And I was just on with one of my agents here who's represented me now in, I think, 3 or 4 transactions. And I was talking to him about a potential deal somewhere else. And I was talking to Pat Kelly, who's an agent and a broker. You know, I was talking to people that are experts in it, because that's what you guys bring to the table. So don't Don't overthink accounting. Don't overthink bookkeeping. Just have somebody do those basics. And some of those are a couple $100 a month. And I guarantee you, you've spent some goofy software a couple $100 a month. So invest in some person, make sure your debits and credits are right, and that you can spit out and see what your scorecard is at the end of the month.
I think
And
that
you know
message
what-
is, oh, sorry. I was gonna say, I think that message is such good timing right now, because I guarantee you, all of you out there are scrambling right now, waiting for your 1099s, trying to gather your receipts, really swearing and cussing at yourself for not keeping up with it over time. And now you're having to work super hard, which is going to invest a ton of time and a ton of negativity and mindset. So I think that message is so good. Now's the time to say, yep, I'm going to have a third party or leverage that to somebody else who can do it much easier and faster and better than I can.
Yeah.
And you know, Carrie, one of the exercises we do, and Mike, you probably don't know this, but one of the exercises we do in Level Up is what are you worth per hour? And it may be, oh my goodness, I'm deep diving in accounting and I'm going, you know, I'm Googling what does this mean, right? Trying to do accounting. When if I invested that time in prospecting or lead gen, I would pay the darn accountant 10 times.
Yeah.
And that goes back to that accountability, having good habits, having good people to surround yourself with. And Andy, I love the tooth and the pliers because you know what I'm talking about.
No, I saw one comment in here about the impact of the natural disasters in the Carolinas and California. Could that mean there's a movement of population to the Midwest? So I would just say the one thing I've known to be true over the last 40 years, people move to the smile states. And the smile states are what are referred to as, if you drew a smile on the United States, that basically goes from Virginia through the Carolinas, Florida, through the South, the Southeast to California. What do the smile states have in common? Better weather. So there has already been a ton of movement from the Rust Belt to the smile states over the last 4 years. You can look at all the population trends. Is the pockets, the one thing I would just be cautious of when it comes to the Midwest, it's very much pocketed. There, because of remote work, little markets like Traverse City, Michigan, or Madison, Wisconsin, or places that are resorty or cottagey or things like that, people were able to flood there and work remote. And like in northern Michigan, it used to be view of the bay and half the pay. You couldn't make a living to live there. Now you can work remote, make a living, and live in a town like that. So that's very much a micro economy where that happens. But that doesn't mean people are flooding to Chicago, Detroit, Minneapolis. They could be. It just depends what's going to happen with back to work. Are people going to be forced back into the office across the board, or is that just a soundbite? That's going to impact a lot of things, because a lot of people moved away from the big cities and said, well, I only have to go into those city even twice a week. That I don't mind a big commute. If all of a sudden people have to go 5 days a week, you're going to see people move from those more spread out areas back in. So you have to look and see where that is.
Well, Mike, we are honored and super excited to have you join us. We hope you're going to join us again. This is going to be available on our YouTube channel. It's going to be available in 1.u. Please subscribe to our podcast, as Savag put in the notes, one of the best podcasts you can listen to. And this is shameless here, but our one-on-one podcast, we feature people like Mike. We're industry forward thinking, and we are just so thankful for each of you on here. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for the positivity. Join us in 2 weeks, if you will. We have a very special guest coming on board that's going to talk about branding. So we're super excited about that. We want to give a shout out to each of you, all of you in your watch parties. Let's take some action and close more transactions.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you, Kathy and Carrie. I appreciate it.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
Okay. Bye-bye, everyone.